Hi there, thanks for coming back to my channel. My name is Mike Pitt. I make videos about marketing, business and crypto so you can grow your business, increase your profits and increase your portfolio. The title for today's video is When is a Crypto a Security? Keep watching and I'll share my thoughts with you. Before I get into the content of the video, I'm going to put my socials on screen here. So if you're active on any of these platforms, connect with me there and send me a message and I'll respond in the usual fashion. Okay, when is a crypto a security? We should start, as always, with a definition. So, definition of a security. The definition of a security that the Security and Exchange Commission in the US use is taken from the Howey Test. The Howey Test relates to a 1946 US court case between the SEC and W.J. Howey and Co. relating to oranges and orange groves. I'm not going to go into the full specifics of that because this video would be too long. Also, I'll leave a reference in the description so you can read up on that original case if you like. Now, the 4 points that came out of that in definition of security were known as the Howey Test. And the Howey Test, there are 4 points that decide whether an investment vehicle, an investment enterprise is a security. And those 4 points are number one, is it an investment of money? Number two, in a common enterprise. Number three, with the expectation of profit. Number four, to be derived from the efforts of others. So there are the 4 points that create the Howey Test. And the SEC, in modern day terms, is using the Howey Test to categorize whether cryptocurrencies and other assets are securities. What are other securities outside of crypto assets? Well, stocks, bonds, shares. So stocks, shares, etc. in companies are categorized as securities. And you need to then have an intermediary, like a stockbroker, investment broker, who can purchase these on your behalf in many cases. That's the difference. But they are regulated by the SEC. That means they have supplied information, financial information, and full details both to the SEC and also to prospective investors. So there's a lot of regulation there of those securities, and you're all familiar with the stock market and how that works. Okay, context, why it's important and why am I talking about securities today or in this video, whenever you're watching it? The reason is Gary Gensler, who is chair of the SEC, has made no secret of his intention to regulate cryptocurrencies and to properly categorize those cryptos that are securities as securities. That's why it's in the news. That's why I'm making this video today. And there's obviously a large court case between Ripple and the SEC about whether some currencies were technically securities during the time they were traded. And I'm not going to go into deep dive into that. And if that needs to be covered in another video, I'll do that perhaps at the conclusion of the court case. I might do a video on that and the implications. Implications of security versus crypto. Let me give you examples of cryptos that are not securities so that you can see the difference and make a comparison there. So Bitcoin, so the original cryptocurrency was used as and intended as a currency, a form of payment, a transfer of value. That's why Bitcoin is not a security. The original Ethereum was also not a security. It was used as a form of payment, so it's categorized differently to some cryptos that came later. Stay with me, I know it can be quite confusing. I need to say at this point that Ethereum, now it's been through its merge and has moved to a proof of stake, potentially there's recourse or there's an opportunity for the SEC to reconsider Ethereum, because now perhaps it's more of an investment vehicle than it is a form of exchange, form of payment than it was when it was proof of work. That's an aside, another potential video if I need to cover that in detail. So cryptos versus securities, you think, oh Mike, this is semantics, this is quite technical definition, why are you putting attention on this? The reason I'm placing a lot of attention on this is because if cryptos are categorized as securities, and it's not going to be Bitcoin and it's probably not going to be Ethereum, but if other cryptocurrencies are categorized as securities, they cannot, and this is the important part for you as retail investors, because most of my audience are retail investors, they cannot be exchanged, they cannot be bought and sold by regular people on crypto exchanges. Now that's mind-blowing, isn't it? So if in 6 months, a year, the SEC in the US, who has a lot of sway within the cryptocurrency community globally, the regulation might start in the US and then be replicated in other countries, replicated in the European Union, for example. I'm based in the UK if you're watching this and you're watching this channel for the first time. So that could be completely disastrous for many cryptos. Imagine the cryptos that you're invested in are categorized as securities. You cannot buy and sell them on exchange. The market for those cryptos is going to die. They're going to be killed, essentially, in the short term. And then they'll have to go through the process of submitting financial information, verification. The Securities and Exchange Commission will do all their due diligence to make sure all of the information is provided to them, and then also to potential investors. And they need to do all of that. And when they've done all of that, and that could take a period when they've done all of that, then they need to be granted a national securities license. I think that's the correct term. And then they can be traded by intermediaries, not by retail investors. So potentially, let's say 80-90% of cryptos are technically securities. They were never intended to be currencies, i.e. sort of replacement of money, a form of payment. They're only intended to be, they're acting more like investment vehicles, like stocks and shares and so on. They're acting more in that context. And if that's the case, then most of the cryptocurrency market will be wiped out. And when I last looked on CoinMarketCap, there were over 20 to 21,000 cryptocurrencies. Most of them perhaps not really replacement forms of payment in the way that Bitcoin was, in the way that Ethereum used to be. So it would affect the vast majority of those and wipe them out. A lot of those cryptocurrencies will not pass the regulations and will not be approved. The SEC uses the provisions of a piece of legislation from 1933, the 1933 Securities Act, to assess and regulate securities in this way. The Securities Act of 1933 has two basic objectives. Number one, to require that investors receive financial and other significant information concerning securities being offered for public sale. And number two, to prohibit deceit, misrepresentations and other fraud in the sale of securities. And many cryptos will not pass their approval standards and that will be the end of those. So you need to have a look at your portfolio and in back of your mind and consider how many of those projects that you're invested in, that you hold a position in, will be affected by categorization as securities. Obviously, if you're invested in Bitcoin, the SEC has said Bitcoin is not a security, and they said the proof of work Ethereum is not a security. They might reconsider proof of stake Ethereum. So this is a potential disaster for many projects out there. Regulation is coming, and this is one way it is coming, not necessarily for the benefit of crypto investors, but it may some form of regulation may improve the levels of protection for retail investors. So you could look at it that way and say that those that remain will be better investment vehicles for everybody who's involved. Okay, hope you found this useful. Thanks for bearing with me. We went through some legislation, we looked at the implications, and it is very, very impactful. When this happens, there's going to be a lot of changes in the crypto industry. Thanks for watching all the way through. Hope you found this video useful. If you have, please give me a like. Click on one of the two thumbnails to watch another video from me, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, thanks, bye-bye.